All right, so this is going to be about how to accept your situation with the narcissist, and this is important because this is one of the things that also makes it hard to leave them behind. Um, you have to accept that you've been hoodwinked. You have to accept that you've been made a fool of. You have to accept that you've been made to look stupid, and you have to accept that you were beat. They beat you at the game, and they lied to you, and they reeled you in, and they hooked you, and they had you in their clutches, and you got caught in their web, and you just didn't see the shit coming, and you you just had the wrong idea about the whole thing. You just didn't know, and that is so hard for people to accept because people want to see themselves as, having their heads screwed on right and understanding the things around them and understanding the people in their lives and understanding everyone's motives and whether or not they're good or bad and things like that. You want to see yourself as somebody who knows what the hell they're doing day to day. Everyone does. But when you have those moments and those interactions and those dealings with people who, blindside the hell out of you, you know, for however long, it's really hard to just accept, you know what, yeah, that happened, and I got my ass handed to me pretty much, and I'm gonna have to, make my peace with that before I take another step here. You just have to accept that you were blinded, but they're so good at it. So it's not like, you were stupid or you did anything wrong. It's not so much that, it's just that they're so good at twisting your mind and twisting your reality. And they use your emotions and your words and your actions and everything against you. And because they're so good at what they do, and they have such, oddly, they have such a good grasp on everyone else's psychology, just not their own. But because they're so good at what they do, they can bamboozle just about anybody. And it's hard because people are trusting, and especially people who are lonely or need the attention or need the acknowledgement, because they didn't get it in childhood or what have you. Those people are still looking for that at 20, 30, 40 years old, and they get stuck with narcissists who seemingly pretend to do those things, but really they're just, that's the supply, that's the narcissistic supply. They'll set you up to where you're supposedly getting at least some of what it is you need. And then in the meantime, sorry, my nose is stopped up. And then in the meantime, they're making a fool of you the whole way because it's like you don't see it coming, because you're trusting, and you saw somebody who promised something to you that they knew you needed, and they picked up on it and they promised it to you, and you wanted to take the opportunity to have that experience and see what that was like to have that. And you trusted them like any human being, probably would. And they twisted that shit. So don't worry about forgiveness. A lot of people will go on and on about forgiveness. All these people that do the spiritual bypassing shit, they'll go on forever about forgiveness. I can't stand that shit. Don't do that. We're not here to do that. Forgiveness, that might be at the tail end. Maybe. But you don't have to. And it's not, it's not evil if you don't, or whatever. That's just my opinion. There's other people that'd be like, oh, well, that's not very godly of you to not forgive, blah, blah. But forgiveness is such a psychological thing. It can take a lot of mental gymnastics to convince yourself to forgive somebody, or even to pretend to try to forgive somebody. And that's not the goal. Forgiving them isn't the goal. Sorting yourself out and understanding yourself and understanding why you let that happen to start with is the goal. Goal number one, anyway, is to figure out what the hell happened and why you let that slide. That's what you need to focus on, not, trying to be Christ-like or whatever. Just drop it. Because that, if it comes, it will come in time, and it will come when you're good and ready, and that doesn't have to be right now. But right now, the first step, I would say, at least one of the first big steps, is to accept that, you got your ass handed to you. It just happens. I promise you, it's happened to me. It happened to me plenty. And I felt stupid, and I hated myself, because I thought, how the hell did I let that slide? How did I let that happen? How did I let myself get caught up in this shit storm that is this guy's life. How did I let this happen? How did I not, so you accept that you let it happen. You accept that, I don't want to say you made the mistake, because I don't consider it a mistake. It's just like a misjudgment. And that's different from making a mistake, I think. But, you just misjudged. And you misjudged because the facts that were presented to you were telling you a certain thing, and you made a choice based on that. But you were misinformed. So it's not really, you didn't do anything wrong. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's how I see it. Other people want to tell you something different, but it's whatever. But that's how I see it. And that's what I tell people. Like, you weren't wrong. You went with what you knew, and you went with what was presented to you. Only problem is the motherfucker who presented it to you is a fucking liar. And they went by your psychological needs and your emotional needs, and they preyed on that, and they used it against you. And you didn't see it coming because you're trusting, and you're kind, and you're open-minded, and you're open-hearted, and you let this person into your life. And even though they did things that hurt the hell out of you, you still let it slide. You still wanted to give them a chance because you wanted to be open-minded, and you wanted to be kind, and you wanted to try to see their good side. So you were trying to be good and do good and do right. So you're not at fault. So there's nothing to blame yourself for. You were doing what anybody else would do in that situation or any other situation. You were working with the facts, faulty as they were. You were working with the facts and the story that you had at the time, and you worked with what you were given at the time, which was the bullshit spewing from that person's mouth that nobody saw coming. So accepting that you were lied to and that you just missed it. You just missed it. And you were, blindsided. Just accept it, and you don't have to tell yourself you made a mistake, because it's not that. It's just a misjudgment. They lied, and they told you things were going to be a certain way, and you're realizing it's not that way. That's not your fault. You were lied to. So don't let anybody, pull the guilt thing on you. It's not like that. Yeah, accepting it, because you have to be open enough and honest enough with yourself to just look at it for what it really is. And it was you being in a position of needing something, and that person just sniffed it out. And self-forgiveness is, of course, the next biggest step. And it doesn't have to be the next. I mean, it could be, but if you don't forgive yourself until later on, that's okay too. But I think it would help to forgive yourself sooner. If you forgive yourself sooner in your journey through figuring this out, self-forgiveness coming early, and that would be a choice for you. You don't force it as a choice. Would be helpful, because you'll be more open to just looking at things very matter-of-factly and just looking at it for what it is. Whereas if you've got guilt and shame and self-hatred and non-self-forgiveness in the way, that's going to block you from seeing things. It's going to cloud your mind, because if you can't cut yourself a break and say, you know what, yeah, I just didn't see it coming. Period. But that's okay, because there's other things in your life that are going to happen like that you don't realize until the end of it. You're like, oh shit, it wasn't even what I thought it was. What the hell? There's going to be stuff like that throughout the rest of your life. You can't get mad at yourself, and you can't hate yourself every single time you find out something's not what you thought it was, just because someone else lied to you. No, we're not doing that. You forgive yourself, and you let yourself off the hook, and you give yourself a break and say, you know what, I just thought it was going to be different. I thought it was going to be different. And you accept that the damn situation was not what you thought it was going to be. You just accept it. And it's not what you thought it was going to be, because you were lied to. Do you see what I mean? I mean, I know I sound like I'm going in circles, but I'm trying to make my point. Because so many people, women especially, are so bad about this, about turning any kind of anger or hatred inwards. We just destroy ourselves. It's the damnedest thing. It's the damnedest thing. But we sooner destroy ourselves than the person than to just get away from the person who's hurting us. So women especially are bad about this, no matter who the narcissist is in our lives, if it's a parent, a spouse, a coworker, what have you. But you can't do the wounded feminine thing all the time. You're gonna have to drop it. You're gonna have to drop the self-sabotage and the self-hatred. It's just, you just have to drop it and say, you know what, I'm gonna love myself enough. Or if you can't do that, if you're not there yet, you don't have to be. You can start little and say, you know what, I'm gonna respect myself enough, just enough. If you're struggling with it, you start small. I'm gonna respect myself just enough right now in this moment to let myself see that I was blindsided, and this is the real situation, and it is what it is. And the reason you have to say it is what it is or whatever is because the narcissist is not going to change. That person's not going to change. They're not going to apologize. They're never going to hunt you down later and be like, oh my God, I'm looking for you for years. I just want to say I am so sorry about what I did. That's never going to happen. Forget it. Maybe one day it might. I don't know. It'd take years of therapy for them to get to that point, but don't count on it. You got to invest in you right now. That's it. You've invested enough in them and their bullshit. So it's time to start working on you. So since they're not going to change and the situation's not going to change, and it sure as hell isn't going to get any better, you just have to accept that it is the shite that it is. But it doesn't mean that you can't start doing things for yourself and get yourself out of there. But first, before we get to all that kind of thing, you have to let yourself accept. Just drop all the filters, drop all the, all the cloudy stuff that's clouding your mind and everything, all the preconceived notions, all the agendas you have, all the ideas, all the, expectations. When people say when they die temporarily and come back, that while they're dead, everything about life on this planet just kind of sheds away from them. It just falls away, like old skin. Just all the ideas, all the labels, all the political stuff, all the stuff people fight about, blah, 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 it all just goes away, because when you get to the other side and you're there and you're just a spirit floating around, none of that shit matters. You try to look at it from that point of view. Let all the ideas go away and try to, this is hard to do, but try to look at it, from not so emotional point of view, and just look at it for what it is. You got made a fool of. You were made to look stupid. That person made you look stupid. Because you are kind, and you are loving, and you needed something that you hadn't gotten before. And that person smelled it, it's my favorite phrase I'm using. I came up with it myself, unless somebody else is saying it, I don't know, they might be, but they smelled it the way a shark smells blood. They sniffed it out. And they got you. They just got you. And that's it. Period. And I don't know the times I had to sit there and really make peace with myself and be like, you know what? Yeah, I got fucked. I got fucked good. I've been had. And that's it. You just have to make your peace with it. Once you make your peace with it, and you get past that, and you're like, all right, you know what? This is what it is. And you kind of accept it for the shittiness that it is. In the Army, in boot camp, they said, embrace the suck. And you have to, and you gotta do it there because you're stuck. But, unless you run away. But, once you sign your paperwork and you're there, and you're out there in the mud and the rain and everything, and your ear hurts, and, your throat hurts and shit like that, and you have to shit, and you can't because you're having to run, shit like that, and they'll say, embrace the suck, and it just means, this is it. Take it. The only difference is in a narcissistic situation, you can get away a little bit better, but, because the government won't come after you if you do run away. But, and most of the enlisteds, people in training, and especially trainees, as far as I know, the Army doesn't really chase them down anymore. It seems like they used to, but they don't. They have so much to worry about now, they don't even fool with it. Like, I knew kids that ran off and just, like, no one fucking cared. They had been sitting in the holding unit for so long, you know, waiting on paperwork to get done, and it didn't get done, and it didn't get done, and it didn't get done, and they just never got chaptered out, and they just kind of sat there. And then some girl, I forgot her name, but she fucked off all the way to Hawaii to her boyfriend, who was also in the military. So I don't know how she managed that, but anyway, she went off with him. That girl, somebody had told me that she had gone through my locker one time when I'd forgotten to lock it. And after she left, I was guided by some nice people to her locker. And I opened it up, and sure the fuck enough, my perfume was in there, my Jennifer Lopez perfume was in there, and like a couple of outfits of mine, like these kind of things, you know, were in her fucking locker. And I swear to God, I found her on Facebook, and I said, hey girl, hope you're doing good in Hawaii. Hawaii. Thanks for holding on to all my shit for me. And she went, huh? And I blocked her before I even, like, I found my stuff in her locker. But anyway, so, embrace the suck. Bitch. So, and even with everything that went wrong with me when I was there, I didn't run away. After everything they did. But anyway, so, and they fooled me, and the Army fooled me. They fooled me like hell. I for sure thought that was going to be different. I got there and realized, like, the people in power and, like, what they were really like and how things were going to be. I was like, oh, fuck me, mate. You know, I'm fucked. And it just didn't get better, and it didn't get better. And I'm just like Dad, and I don't do chain of command. So it's a good thing I got out of the military, because I don't trust people in power, because I know that I can't. So, when the sergeants would act up, they did. But when they would pull that shit, and they would, like, do all kinds of shit they weren't supposed to do. And they were like, if they weren't terrorizing us, like, beyond what they should, what was necessary, especially for us just being a holding unit, when they weren't terrorizing us, they were flirting with us. And me and a bunch of other people, like, would go to the officers and say, look, Sergeant so-and-so, blah, blah. And they would rail us for that later. They would fuck us up for that later. The sergeants, they had such a fit when you'd go to the XO, because, like, that's their boss. And, yeah, chain of command. I was just like, but I just didn't care, because, like, somebody else had to know what was going on. And the officers were always kind of surprised, like, what the hell do you mean Sergeant so-and-so's been doing? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I mean? This has been going on forever. So, anyway. But, yeah. If you want to know more about that, I did a video called, My Time in the Army, and it's from, like, probably 2 years ago. So, if you want to go watch that for a little bit of entertainment, you can. In that video, I think it's like 40 minutes long or something. I tried to tell everything that I could remember from what that was like. So, yeah. Any good stories I might have had, you know, or anything that was, like, worth mentioning, I would have put in that video. So anyway, embrace the suck. Okay. But that's just part of it. Embrace the suck, because that is the situation. The situation is the narcissist is terrorizing you and lying to you, and has been lying to you for a long time, and has been making you look stupid, and has been whatever else, taking money from you, controlling you, hiding your car keys, following you places, putting a tracker on your car, going through your phone, blocking phone numbers on your phone without you knowing, and wondering why you're not hearing from people, whatever, or offering to pay all your bills, or you know, I know I got one. I remember mine. He was laying stretched out on my bed in my house, and he just, like, he either reached over to grab my phone, or I had it in my hand or something. But he was, like, trying to get it physically. And I said, you're not going through this unless you're paying the bill. Now, see, I don't juggle. So I only had one boyfriend at a time. I've always only ever had one boyfriend at a time. I've never tried any fancy footwork. It's always just been one. Most women do that. And they just do. And because he was worrying about who else I might have been doing at the time, because he was probably doing who knows what. I can't believe I didn't get any diseases. Like, I cannot believe I got out of that clean. I just can't believe it. But considering what he was up to, and I found out about that later too, and not just his wife, but somebody else. Yeah, I knew her. But anyway. So, but he was gonna, he called himself reaching for my phone. Let me see that shit. And I said, I had like Boost Mobile at the time or whatever the fuck. And I said, you're not going through my phone until you pay the bill. And what I meant by that was not necessarily that was going to be what I would allow for if that were the case, but I knew in my heart of hearts that I was going to never let him pay my goddamn phone bill because I wasn't going to let him have money control over me. He had other control over me, but monetary control, you better fucking forget it. I don't let anybody touch my motherfucking money. That's why I have so much of it. I don't look like it, but I have a lot put away. I got big plans, so I got things to do, but I'm not a big spender. And I don't have, $800 pumps and stuff like that. I just don't do that. This is from the thrift store, okay? Like, I don't care. I buy what I like, and I don't have to get, $50 jumpers. I just don't need to do. So, what I was really telling him was, you're never going to go through this phone because I'm never going to let you put your name on my bill for anything, especially not a fucking phone bill. Because anytime I piss you off, you could just call the phone company and say, hey, disconnect that number. So why the fuck would I give you that power? So when I told him, well, you're not paying, you're not, what was it? You're not going through this phone without paying the bill. And he looked at me, and the look on his face, he was like, are you fucking serious? And he was stretched out on this bed. Stretched out like a fucking sultan, like a fucking Turkish sultan with the damn belly dancers around him. And I am a fucking belly dancer. That's the worst part. My stuff was hanging up right there in the fucking closet, just like it is now. So it's just like, shit was so stupid. But, things like that. But I still, he didn't have money control over me, monetary control, but he had all the rest of it pretty much. He followed me places. He was parked at my house. We'd be arguing, and I'd be, you know how they push you to where you start screaming? To where you finally start screaming. And then as soon as you start screaming, their voice, especially if it's a dude, women, they do this, but they don't, the physiological changes aren't there. But dudes have this thing, and I've seen non-narcissistic ones do this too. I've seen normal ones do this. But their voice will drop about 10 octaves. And all of a sudden, they're very calm, cool, collected. And why are you screaming? I'm gonna be honest, screaming now. I'm about to pull my fucking pistol out on you. Like fuck screaming. I'm done with. I'm tired of this. They make you feel like you're going crazy. They make you feel like you're losing your fucking mind. And my behavior changed. I was nutty. I was nutty. I was doing shit I'd never done before, like just weird things and saying weird things and thinking weird things and awful things. It's just like all of that was like getting procured out of what seems like nothing, but really it's not, because the narcissist preys on your inner wounds, and they use that because they tell you they're going to feed that part of you and nourish it, the hurt part of you. Well, I know you've never had real love, and I'm here to change all that. So they know how to pick that wound. They know how to pick it out, and they'll say, okay, well, I'm gonna provide the solution. So then they start providing the solution, but then like things start going wrong, and then you realize that wounded part of you hasn't been fed. and hasn't been nourished at all. In fact, it's hurting even more now than it ever has, because dumbass has been lying to you the whole time, and the whole fucking thing's been fake. And now you're about to lose your shit because of the time you've wasted, the energy you've wasted, the money you've spent, time you could have had with other people that really do care about you, time you could have been doing investing in a class, or investing in your physical health, or going to the gym or something. Instead, you're going out with them, whatever. You start to realize like all the losses you've sustained, because of them just dragging you along, and you have to accept that you were made to look like a damn fool. Just embrace it. Embrace the suck. You've got to. I hate to say that, and I know that sounds harsh, and but healing is harsh. Healing is harsh because you're having to face shit inside you that you don't want to face. And it hurts because it's stuff that you're, hoping to forget about, but you can't forget about it because the farther down you push it, the faster it's going to rush up to the surface. And when it does, it's going to be ugly because it's not being dealt with. It's like a baby that doesn't get its bottle, and he screams louder and louder, And the longer you ignore him, the louder he cries, and it's just the way it is. Or the dog sitting outside, when he wants to come in, he's gonna bark more and more and more, because he's not coming in the house. So it's like when they prey on that, and you realize at one point or another that you haven't been getting anything from this dynamic. And it doesn't have to be a significant other. It can be a boss, it can be a coworker, it can be a parent or a relative you're living with, or somebody who you thought was your friend, or whatever. It can be anybody. I specifically deal with, partners, but narcissists can be anybody in your life. It's hard to face the fact that you were, blinded by this gleaming, golden, shimmery offer that was made to you. It's like, look at this, you've been wanting this, huh? Yeah, bitch, yeah. Well, before I do that, I'm gonna lay down some rules. And it's like, what the, and then you fell for it because they hit your soft spot, and you fell for it. My ass fell for it too. I know. I fucking fell for it too. Don't think I'm not aware. Sometimes I look back at my old self and I'm like, you know what? Props. Because my old self, she went through a lot to have to come to that realization of being, lied to and being scammed. And not just once or twice, but like several times. Like I was, I was scammed so much. And but finally, like, I had a final straw, and I was like, all right, no. But making your peace with the fact that you've been lied to, and the whole thing is a farce, and the whole thing is a joke. But there's an upside to this. The upside, since the whole situation is actually fake, the upside is that you can now create whatever you want for your real reality, which you probably had before you met this motherfucker anyway. Especially mine. Like mine, when I started to really do good with things is when boyfriends would pop up, and then after that, things would start going downhill for me. There's no enrichment there. It's just because you quit doing what you love, and you have to give them attention. It's like, well, Jesus Christ, So, and I learned that I didn't want to try to, precariously balance it. I just want to take care of myself and my son and my relatives who I can count on, who are always there for me, and my friends who have been there for years, who are always there for me, and that's it. But, and of course my clients, you know what I'm saying, but, like the people in my life, I know who's important. But, you can once you accept that the whole thing has been a charade, it's all been, a show that's been put on for you, just an entertainment, like a magic show. Once you accept that the whole thing's been a magic show, you can say, okay, so now it's my turn. I'm going to create whatever the hell I want. And you start moving towards creating your own life for you. This is when you start doing things like if you're in a situation where you can get out, get out. You start doing little things like in my other video called How to Plan Your Escape from a Narcissist. And that's things like little moves you can make to physically move out. You know what I mean? If you need to make an appointment with a lawyer, do that. If you've got the money, good. If not, at least get a free consultation and with as many lawyers as you can. So that way, because the ones that are nice enough to give you 20 or 30 minutes, which apparently for them is a lot, but it's whatever. If you can get with as many lawyers as you possibly can for free, the free consultation, and each one you ask different questions, and you get all your damn questions answered one way or another. The idea here, once you realize that the narcissist has created this like fucking fantasy for you, and you realize you've been bamboozled and it's time to get out, it's time to start working towards getting out. If you're going to have a lot of legal issues, take advantage of every avenue possible. Help yourself in any and every way you can think of. Carry around a little notebook in your pocket or your purse, and every time you think of something that you can do that will help you in the long run during your exit, write it down. Call the lawyers. Call so-and-so because they know, because they're a paralegal, they might be able to help. Call somebody else whose cousin is a lawyer and might be able to get you, a deal. Give you a discount or help you out or something. Make sure you call somebody who can give you a ride if you need it, or come help you in the middle of the night or something like that. Like, if a fight breaks out at 2 in the morning and you need to get out of there and you don't have a car or whatever, somebody can come and get you. Anything you think of like that to save yourself and to rescue yourself and to help yourself along the journey, the new journey, write it down. Write that shit down. And you go back and look at it all the time. Anytime you fucking think of something, you write it down. And you're going to fill that notebook because you're going to keep thinking of shit. The more stuff you think of, the more stuff you'll think of. But, like I say, especially if you're going to have legal issues, if there's children involved or a house or whatever, just get as many free consultations as you can and have a different set of questions for each one so that you can have all your questions answered. You know what I mean? Because if everybody's in the same state, they're all going to tell you the same thing for the same questions. You know what I'm saying? So like, have as many different people involved with as you can, and that's what I would do. I have done that. So that would be one of my first steps. Especially if there's going to be court involved. But you have to realize that even though you've been lied to and you've been made a fool of the entire time, you're actually in control, because the shit that you're going to do is real. The shit the narcissist does, the damage they do is real. The damage they do is real. But the life that they create is not real. Which means it can come falling down. It can come crashing down at any time. Everything they've built, the fantasy they've built, the fantasy world, what was that cartoon about the fairies in the woods? It's 2 words. What was it? It was like the name of where they lived. When I said fantasy world, I thought of that. I'll think of it in a minute. I'm about to think of it. I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, so it's like that. They build the fantasy world where you're like skipping around, thinking everything's la-di-fucking-da, and really the veil is lifted and you're like, okay, so this is what it is. I've been swimming in shit the entire time. Okay, nice. But once you accept that you've been swimming in shit the entire time, and that's the real situation, you can build on that. Because now you can build, you can create whatever the hell you want. You're not stuck. You're not stuck. All you need to do is reach out to all the different avenues that you possibly can think of to put to your use. You're not used to this, but you're going to start putting yourself first in ways you've never imagined, and in ways you've never done before, and in ways you've never been taught to, especially if you're a woman. So you're going to start putting yourself first in a fierce way. Let your dark feminine take the wheel for once, and you're going to shatter anything that gets in your motherfucking way, and you're just going to use every avenue. You're going to use every person to your advantage whose job it is to do a certain thing. You do it. Get them to do it. You know, anybody who's been kind to you and who's been loyal to you, and you've never asked them for a thing because you're always afraid to ask for help because you have wounded feminine, you're going to ask that person, that loyal person, if they can help you just one time, and you'll owe them, and you can pay them back for it somehow later. But if they could just do one solid thing for you, it'd be so fucking sweet. And see what you can get done. Being afraid of asking for help for women is like the biggest self-sabotage shit we can do, because we're taught that we can't. We're taught that we can't and that we shouldn't ask for help. And that is destructive, because the feminine is not supposed to grind and be rigid and be the go-getter and chase and acquire and reach out like an amoeba, you know, with the pseudopod thing. It's not, you should not have to do that. Being in the fucking feminine means that you are open enough to let that shit come to you. Or things that you see that can be used to your advantage, that can end it in your benefit, you know, that's not manipulative but normal, you know. Take advantage of it. Because people will say, because like I say about the lawyers, for example, people say, okay, we'll get a lawyer. We're only going to get 30 minutes. Then make 3 appointments with 3 different damn lawyers and ask all your questions. Split your questions into thirds. 3 sheets of paper. The first appointment, take the first sheet of paper with the first set of questions. Second appointment, take his questions to him. And the third appointment, take his fucking question. It's done. Done deal. You got everything. You got it. They don't have to know that you went to everybody else. They're not going to know that. They don't have time for that shit. There's something... What? You see what I mean? All this time, you've put yourself on the back burner for this motherfucker who has done nothing but lie to you and hoodwink you and make you look like a damn fool. All they've done is put themselves first, having you thinking you were going to get something good if you just like gave up your fucking sovereignty and your damn identity and your damn personhood. You know, well, if you give me your soul, I'll help your little fucking stupid ass dream come true. Dumb as it is. You know, that's how they think. That's how they think. But after all that shit was done to you, why the fuck shouldn't you start doing things for yourself and doing things that are to your advantage? Use shit. Ask people for help. Ask their asses for help. That's why people are there, is to help you. People are designed to function in a damn community as a group. We survive better as a group, except for witches. We can survive on our own, but that's beside the point. I don't need nobody. But you know, because they always live in the woods by themselves. I'd love to live in the... I'd still want my son with me, though. That would be the hard part. But he's a bit of a loner himself, so maybe it wouldn't hurt him too much. I don't know. I can't start thinking about that, because I'll pack my bags, go to Scotland, and be done with it. Go back to the homeland and just be finished. But that's what you need to do, is start putting yourself first, because so far you haven't done that, and now you see what's happened. And you haven't investigated yourself enough, so therefore you didn't know your own wounds, which is why dumbass had the chance with you that they had. So it's time to start investigating you and helping yourself and sorting yourself out. And this takes a long time to really pin it down. This takes a long time to really get this down pat. But once you do, you're going to feel so good at the end of it, because you're going to be the one that comes out powerful, because your reality is going to actually be real. It's not going to be some fucking fantasy that you're lying to everybody about. Your life is going to be actually real. You know, if you are who you say you are. You are the character that you say you are. You are the people who know you to be the way you are, and nothing else. You know what I mean? So you don't have anything to hide or to be ashamed about. Just do you, but do you on a more aggressive level because you have to save yourself now. So accept it. Accept that dumbass has done what they've done, and that they've lied, and that you've been fooled, you've been foiled. But but also accept that the next step here is that you have all the power now, because you cracked the code. You figured it out. You finally, seeing it is one thing. People say, oh, well, when you see it and you realize it, you cracked the code. Maybe a little bit, but more so it's when you accept it, because once you accept it for reality, I guess that's a Buddhist thing, I don't know, like just taking it as it is, just be like, yeah, you know what, this is it. This is it. I'm not gonna pull my hair out about it. This is it. This is what it is. And I think that's what the Buddha was trying to say, because like he left the palace and he went out and saw things in the world that were really horrible, and he was like, oh my god, these people are starving, what the fuck, and sick people, and people were homeless and had awful injuries that never got treated and whatever else, and he was like, why is it like this? And he had to accept that it was like that before he could learn more about it. I could have, I probably could have done better in math class in high school if I had just accepted the method for finding, the sides of a triangle. I just didn't care enough. But if I had just accepted it and be like, you know what, this is my fate, I might have done better, because I just like would have taken it, just would have like given up and been like, all right, this is what it is, embrace the suck. And had I done that, I might have done, I might have done better. I don't know, but you see, but you get what I'm saying. Y'all are smart. You know what I'm saying. So acceptance is huge. I wrote a like a Facebook post, a long post one time, maybe about a year ago or a little less, about acceptance. It was really good, actually. I may go back and dig it up, see where it is, and repost it, because I made some good points there. But basically, you take all the power back once you see and accept the situation for what it really is. Because the whole reason that the narcissist still had control over you to start with is because you weren't recognizing the situation for what it really was, which was them lying to you like an asshole. And you bypassed that. You excused it, or you let it go, or whatever. For whatever reason, you let it go and you let it slide, because they'll punctuate it with bad behavior, and they'll punctuate it with abuse and things like that. And then you say, well, shit, what's wrong with you? Everything was so good. And they'll do the emotional roller coaster shit. And so once you finally see that that's not what you deserve, and that you should have better than that, that's the power. Because after that, you can make whatever decision you want to make. And it seems like a lot of people feel like they can't get out of those situations, or they can't make it better, or they don't have any power and they can't get away. And that's not true. That's never true. That's never true. There have been people in worse situations. There's always somebody in a worse situation. And I hate to say that, because it's like, I don't want to sound like I'm invalidating your feelings, because that's not it. But there are people that have been in worse situations that have made it work. And there's always a chance. This world is too big for you to not have a chance to make your life better. This world is too big for that. If the world was like the size of Puerto Rico, and we were like 40 miles across a long way, then I could see your opportunities being limited. But I mean, this world is big, and there's too many. There's so much out there. There's so much out there, and there's so much possibility out there. And the way you look at it is going to be how it affects your situation. If you tell yourself that you're trapped, you're going to sit there and convince yourself to not do anything. And you can convince yourself to not help yourself, and you abandon yourself, and then you're more miserable. And then, I don't want to think about what happens after that. Like, it can get really bad. And I don't want that. I don't want to see that. Because you deserve better. But you have to realize that you deserve better, and accept that you deserve better, and then start making your moves. Start making your gangster moves. You got to do it. Because especially if you have children, and you're, obviously the better parent dealing with the narcissistic parent, right? Your spouse or whoever. The children need you to make the right choice. And a lot of people will tell you, don't be selfish or whatever, do it for them, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to cut out the don't be selfish part, because I don't see selfishness as part of this at all. But I'm going to tell you that, if you don't think enough of yourself to do it for yourself because of the betrayal against you, at least do it for the children, because they do need you, and they are innocent. And if you think you didn't see it coming, think about how they feel. Especially when the children are upset about anything in general. This is just a good general rule to keep in mind. The child feels the way you feel. I heard somebody complaining one time, this woman complained about her teenage son, and instead of trying to understand him, she bragged about how she was going to punish him, which was to take away his PlayStation and to make him mow the lawn, and I think do something else, I forgot. And all I could think in that moment was, and I wish I could have said it, but I wasn't in a position to at the time. I could go back and say it, but it doesn't matter. It's whatever. But I just wanted so bad to say, okay, so your son's miserable, and y'all argue a lot, and your solution, if you will, is to take stuff away from him and put him to work outside to teach him what? And because the teenager's not going to learn from that, because it's not practical. They need practicality. They need shit that makes sense, because their brain is turning it into an adult brain. But they're still being treated like a child, which is why they're at war with you. And she said that she was talking to somebody else, but I overheard what she said. So I wasn't involved in this conversation, but I know what was said, because I was standing right behind her. And she said, well, I just feel like he, doesn't respect me, and he doesn't listen to me, and he doesn't respect my, what do you call it, like, when somebody's encroaching on your space or whatever, he doesn't respect my territory, or something like that. And I just thought, so you've never thought to ask him if he might be feeling that way? Because the child feels the way the adult feels. The child feels the same way. Why are they screaming? They're frustrated. Why? Because they're saying I'm not listening. Well, or no, you're mad because the kid won't listen to you. Well, you won't listen to the kid, It's like, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. You know how, like, when women are talking to each other about how they wish men would stop killing them, and then men will pop up and say, well, it goes both ways. It's like that. It goes both ways. I'm sorry. Not really. But anyway, that's what I mean. So the children definitely didn't see it coming. So if you're not going to do it for you, at least do it for them, because they need you to make the right choice. Period. At least get them out, and you'd obviously be going with them. So, think of it as a protecting your tribe, as it were. I mean, you just gotta. Acceptance is hard, but like I said, once you do that, that opens you up to all your power. It really does, because then you realize you can build whatever you want. The fact that the whole thing is a lie means that none of it's real. Well, shit, if none of it's real, then I can do whatever I want. None of these rules are real. You know what I mean? It's like waking up in the Matrix. The whole damn thing is a hologram. The goddamn sun's probably fake. I don't know. But if they came out and like admitted to it, or like it was on, I went outside and looked at it, it was fake or some shit, and I figured it out, I wouldn't even be surprised at this point. I give up. It's whatever. They have lied to us about so much other shit. If like the fucking planet was fake, I wouldn't even blink, because oh well, but that just means I can create whatever I want. So that's what you have to keep in mind. That you actually do have all the power. You've had all the power all along. The narcissist would have you think otherwise, and they'll put in every effort, to make it so. But really, you've had the power all along, and they know that, which is why they picked you, because they pick people who have personal power. They pick people who have a lot going for them, and they pick people who they know are going to be successful, or are highly intelligent, or highly educated, or make a lot of money, or go to the gym and they look great, have a great personality, have a lot of friends, a lot of social life, a good networking, or whatever it is about you that they deem valuable, that people would see as a good quality and a helpful quality, for you and anyone involved with you. They'll use that. So that's how it is. But because you're actually the powerful one in the situation, they have to make you feel like you're not, so that it shifts to them. But that's just an illusion. The whole thing is illusion. So keep that in mind. That's why you don't have to be... It is upsetting, but what I want to tell you is that you don't have to be angry at yourself for letting the whole thing happen, or whatever. You don't blame yourself for it, because the whole thing's a lie. It's not even real. The life that the character that they have, the personality they have, and the shit that they tell you about themselves and everything, none of it's real. So you don't even have to feel bad about anything, because the whole fucking thing's fake. You see what I mean? So keep that in mind, and if that helps you to practice a little detachment through the process, in regards to that, and then that's fine too. The less you let your emotions control you, especially rage, the less you let it control you, the better you'll fare, and the easier it'll be for you to focus on the goal, which is to get out and rebuild yourself. You know what I mean? So that's my 2 cents on that. I hope that helps. I hope that brought you some new ideas and brought you a better outlook, and that helps you change your point of view, so you don't feel stuck or cornered, or like you're in a cage, because you're not. It's just you've been lied to, but you're not stuck, because the whole thing is fake, which means you can start building whatever you want, and because you're going to be sincere about it and real about it, anything you build is going to be fucking sweet. So, because it's going to be realistic. You're going to make real ass moves, boss moves, to rebuild, and you're going to be a-okay. You're going to be all right. You're going to be just fine. So, thanks for listening. Hope that helps. Bye.